direction for what, I guess there's some boiler issues possibly going on in building one. I went into the hallway just to check out, but they were trying to tell me that here it was 90 degrees out and the thing was turned off, but the heat was clear. Coming through the hallway was extremely hot. I know that there's been a work order or two possibly called in. Not sure what happened with that, where it went, if a plumber was called, but the tenant kind of approached me and asked me if I knew anything, and I'm like, not at the moment, but I'll be happy to bring it up and see where you're at.
Thanks. Is that sick?
Okay.
Did she repeat that one? I think know what exactly the status of that house is.
So maybe I
We will follow up with you.
Yeah.
Know the status.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it back then.
Approval of minutes of the June 9th meeting. You just finished. All in favor, say aye. Motion for the consent agenda.
There's one thing, the manifest for that management to yes.
So basically with the board, packets, we traditionally sent out the vendor, payments, not necessarily the tenant payments, but they're just, we're paying tenants back for their deposits and with that. So when Ken approached me about it, the two checks that were not reported, one of them we ended up, having to void because there were damages to the unit, which says what that security deposit would have been. And the other one was just a security deposit. I can change how I do things if you want me to include the tenant checks in the future, but that would be up to the board.
That should be for me. But, if a check comes, what account is that check? I mean, those checks, I mean, how does it's not reflected in the.
Well, it's the general fund, but they're two separate programs. So tenant accounting and vendor accounting are two separate programs. So I run the report on vendor accounting, which would not catch any of that comes out of tenant accounting. So I can do both.
I mean, just for the. Prosecutor's board. All of this.
Yeah. I think that was a change that happened with THA web that just wasn't caught. Because it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen.
I haven't noticed that, and I generally have to some the agenda. But
It could be an update too. Yeah.
yeah. Right.
Second. Any further discussion? Favor, say aye. Aye. Passes. Correspondence.
We had a meeting with the mayor that was very positive, and very encouraging that, Mike, well, the mayor then just wanted to meet Darlene before he made the appointment, and, yeah, I'm really, to Darlene for being willing to step forward. It's a long time commitment to having resident representation of the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is a lifetime appointment. It's like.
It's where he said the part of 22 sessions.
And this was.
Oh, it's bloody, blood out.
I like to leave it if the month after that.
Yeah, that's like a week. So under media, you'll see a report from the advocate. This is a group, this is reports from the Joint Center for Housing Studies at Harvard University. And this is an annual State of the Nation housing The bottom line is, there's not enough of it, and certainly not enough affordable housing. And it does include topic of single-family home ownership, the low-income housing tax credit program, and there needs to be a coordinated effort between the federal, state, and local government. So I included that. It's probably not new to any of you, but I'd like to provide you periodically with articles that reflect what's happening. Under my report, well, we already talked about Arlene's appointment. We finally heard from our insurance that the Human Rights Commission should be issuing their report regarding the kind of run at Hickory Street. It should be within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know how to interpret the length of time that this is taking in terms of issuing their decision in several months. I'd like to think that it wasn't a high priority because the complaint was found to be not just. We'll see what happens. I will say that Greg has gone bent over backwards to try to fulfill the tenant's request for a unit transfer. She's made she's confused several times, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. And as I said before, the issue is how they deal with it. The maximum previous. We'll see what happens. The electrical upgrade, we had a meeting with Vermont last week. It's all blurred together. And they have offered to install a new type of heat pump in buildings 7 and 8, so we can get a sense for what the impact of those heat pumps will be on particularly fossil fuel usage. They're kind of slick. I wish that they were actually available on the open market now, but they're not. They mount in the windows in a window, much the way a air conditioner unit would, but it blocks much less area in the window itself because it's like a U shape and it inserts under the window frame. My first question, of course, are there going to be egress issues? They assured me that no, this unit was designed with egress in mind. It is actually something that was developed in partnership with the New York City because they wanted to move in the direction of heat pumps. But if you're familiar with heat pumps, there's a lot of plumbing and electrical that's necessary when you install heat pumps. Traditional heat pumps, pipes, or conduit, another day. But for those of you who may own heat pumps, exterior things that need to be mounted from the transformer to the heat pump heads, this unit does away with that. It is, as I said, New York City has already thousands and thousands of units. This unit that's behind designing, for getting these units designed. They are, from what I understand, compliant with the Buy America, Build America requirements, which historically has been a real problem with heat pumps. Spending a couple dollars at heat pumps because they're not manufactured. That's supposed to come from China. So again, if all goes well, we'll pilot a project that will incorporate 8 of these new heat pumps for building 7, for building 8. And we'll be looking at really two things, energy efficiency or reducing our reliance on fossil fuel, as well as consumer acceptance, tenant acceptance of the equipment. I will say that if you're not familiar with heat pumps, they do provide not just heat in the winter, but air conditioning in the summer, which would do away with the annual installation of heat pumps, installation of air conditioning units in many of our tenant apartments. I am particularly interested in determining whether or not this might have application in Sheldon Towers. The air conditioners, and supply air conditioners at Sheldon Towers, all air conditioners drip, right? And that has some problems on the exterior of the building. This particularly, that was also one of my questions. What about the condensation and inevitable dripping of water outside the unit? And these particular, or this design included again, not a techie, but essentially it's a mechanism on the outside of the unit that heats and evaporates. Again, they've only used them in New York for about a year.
How many in the company?
I can get it for you. They're about, they anticipate that they'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 4,000 apiece. That being said, there's considerable cost savings in terms of the installation. It can be plugged into a traditional 110 outlet, 120 opposed to the 220 or 220. Thank you, Jim. This is why they don't let me do maintenance here. As opposed to having to rewire for a 220 unit, they can be easily installed. They say it's a 2-person job and it can be done by the occupant. That's unlikely in our case because they're about 180 pound unit and certainly the overwhelming majority of our tenants could, could not place that much weight. You may or may not have noticed that last Saturday, Sunday's Rutland Herald included a request for qualifications for qualified legal firms to provide primarily tenant landlord law, but we're also looking for a firm to do contract review, can represent us in the arrivals at hearings, and we should move the some employment related law, including negotiations with bargaining units. So we're really looking for a full service firm rather than spreading this out over a lot of firms. We developed a list of targeted legal firms that we sent the announcement to, and we also posted it on the Vermont Bar Association's newsletter. So hopefully we'll get some good responses. Those responses are due on August 23rd. Is that correct, Lindsay? Can you pull that out of your memory? It's okay if you can't.
August 20th.
August 20th. Oh, right. And we'll do the review on the 23rd, and we will ask at least one commissioner to serve on the review committee. I can't imagine who that might be, but yeah, I think there's really two rationales, and I won't put them in any particular order. The first is that we haven't done an RFQ since 2019. Really, so I think it's helpful to see what's out there. and also to do our due diligence around procurement for the housing authority. The second issue is our management is not necessarily getting response. Turnover, particularly for the turnaround time on pet admissions. We'll continue to, or we will in fact evaluate all proposals. And it should be our current term, that it needs to be clear. Entity that verbiage and current request for qualifications. Difference between a request for qualifications and a request for proposals. Requests for proposals are pretty straightforward in that there's a scope of work. People submit a bid, and generally speaking, the low bid wins the contract. With a request for qualifications, we have the ability to look at past performance and the extent to which the response to the request for qualifications meet the norms that are outlined in the request. I'm going to make you aware of that. We had a very productive meeting with the Southern Vermont PHA directors. We've identified a list of about 10 things that we can collaborate on in order to build efficiencies and effectiveness within our respective operations. Right now, we essentially do, there's 4 PHAs, and everyone expends the same, essentially the same resources, policy and procedure, and unit. So we will follow up with a meeting with a colleague of mine, a Teams meeting with a colleague of mine.
Yep.
Although the process that they follow in bringing multiple PHAs together was really more consolidation versus collaboration. They'll be providing us with some insights on some of the issues that they faced in system development, operations, policy, procedure, et cetera. Looking forward to that meeting, which will come up in August. One of the, just to give you an example, one of the things that came up was that we have 4 individual Section 8 administrative plans that we all incurred significant expense and staff time in developing. The thought was, could we have a standard administrative plan so that all 4 housing authorities are by and large running their Section 8 program the same or consistently. There may be certain aspects of the local markets that require us to, that will require some differences, but at least the core model will be the same. And this is particularly helpful in light of the fact that a lot of applicants are sending, a lot of prospects are sending applications, preliminary applications. Moving on to the Sash Grove update. I may have I'll address this in greater detail in her report, but essentially there's a designated regional housing organization. It's the administrative entity that oversees Sash within a specific geographic region. We are the Grove, which I think sounds kind of Star Wars. We are the Grove for Rutland County. And we meet on the People's Court generally holds monthly meetings to go over priorities for the SASH program. The previous embedded mental health grant is up at the end of September, I believe it is. And unlike past years, they're not allowing the People's Court to carry the balance of the previous grant into future grant periods or future years. It's a significant loss. I think it reflects changes in Washington. That being said, there is a application that's already made it through Senator Walter's office for the renewal fund. Keeping our trust on that. The staffing update, we may be aware that Corey Webster, on-time maintenance technician, is pursuing a different opportunity with the state of Vermont. We were very sorry to see him go. That being said, Jordan Tattersall, who is was our maintenance aide, has been promoted into the position of technician. I was concerned about how much longer we could hold on to him. Primarily because of what we're able to offer in the way of salary and to some extent benefits. So we're thrilled that he's accepted this position, and we are looking for a maintenance aide replacement. And I'm pretty confident that we have found that replacement. Person is completing the criminal record, child protective service, child abuse registry checks. To paid in over the weekend, so unless there's any problems with that. Additionally, and Bob, assume we forget, Bob Baxter, thank you. He wasn't here long enough for me to remember his last name. He did not feel like the SAS coordinator. I would, although we did invest some onboarding time, I think it's better that he recognized that early on in the process. 6 months down the road. So that's, we are promoting, we are advertising for that position. As you may recall, Head Start leases from us space at the Hickory Street Community Center. Had to clean up some stuff from the past because they were non-compliant with lease. It was simply an oversight. After that, failed to comply. But at any rate, last week I met with representatives of Rutland Health. We have agreed upon a new terms in that lease that include both Unit 1 and Unit 2, because subsequent to Head Start, we opened up a early essentially child care, which provides a really great service to our Hickory Street tenants as well as the surrounding communities. I'll to get that contract. Unless there's any questions for me. I would like to.
Finance. Administration report.
So right now, we're off to a good start for this year. Our revenues, you'll see, look significantly over budget. It's reporting in at 184,774 over budget for revenue. Further down in the budget, you'll also see that our cap payments are significantly over budget, so that actually balances pretty well with what we're showing as excess revenue expenditure. But I know that we are also in the process of trying to, we've had some of the vouchers due to the high-related budget constraints and changes to funding. So I know that that's going to change a bit over the course of the year. Payroll and benefits is $8,259 under budget. Admin expenses are $21,178 under budget. Utilities expenses are $28,259 under budget. Maintenance expenses are $13,983 under budget. And that leaves us at, May 31st, with a year-to-date surplus projected of 161,598. And the balance in the general fund, at that time, was showing as $967,307.53. I don't have any major concerns right now. I know that Kevin's talked about the elevator situation. I know that, we're gonna be getting a refund on some of that. Not just yet. But right now, we're off to a great start. If anybody has any questions.
Oh, there's one? No. Let me address the section A. Surplus. It's not an actual surplus. You may have said, you may have been wondering, well, how could we, we're in a shortfall position if there's a surplus in section A? The reason is that there's some lag time between when HUD generates final what's called the voucher and list of reports, and when that hits the financial statement. So it's not it is a surplus if you look at a point in time, but as Kirsten indicated, it will even things out by the end of the year. Regarding the elevator, we have finally heard from Otis that they will be on site July 14th to make the repairs to the one of the two elevators. So they'll be here today. Time flies. Obviously, the quality or lack thereof of their service has been a deep concern over the last 12 months because that elevator has in fact been down for over 12 months. Clearly not an acceptable situation in light of the folks that we serve at Shelton, primarily a lot of elderly and physically disabled. We are looking at other alternatives. It may require some negotiations with Otis around the service agreement currently in place. But of course, separate relationship based on year. What's in their plans? We'll take it over. We have already. Apparently, there was another manager. I assume responsibility, but not for having initiated that contract, but rather it reaching this point. At any rate, there are a couple of different, and we're going to have. We have one company we did test. I will say it's one of the two is currently servicing Springfield Public Authority. We're optimistic, but
if you don't approve that, because you don't.
The expense overage or the?
We have subsidy.
So, there's several factors for why there's an overage right now. One is because, we are currently at 110% of the payment standard. So when we budget based on payment standard, not necessarily the 110%.
It's gonna change it.
Yeah, so that's a big part of why we have the overage that we're showing. That should slowly back down as we go through the year and pull vouchers. I know that we're trying to get more in line with the payment standard. We would put any new vouchers, but mainly what we're trying to do is pull. I think the number was 20 vouchers by the end of the year.
yes.
But this over, I mean, it's nothing that we're expecting the money back.
No.
April 30th.
One of the factors may have found that the budget was developed before the board actually lowered the pay standards. We were at 110, and now based on unit size, we have varying payment standards. Primarily based on the ability to lease out units out of the community, which is of course based on ever increasing cost of rents.
Another major part is probably, because the budget, the half portion of the budget was, tailored by, CBIZ based on the BMS reports. And I know that we've had a lot of conversations about, the BMS reports and some errors that have been caught and found. And that was actually, something I was going to mention in the audit update is that, that continues, is trying to fix any of that situation that, we found. I know, they have a dedicated person on it now at CBIZ, which is awesome. She seems to be fantastic with her knowledge. So hopefully moving forward, we'll be able to get a better target number on that.
So like I said, the financials reflect the current point in time. With those reporting legs and reporting, talk to see if greater amount of accuracy in the financials for the variance report. The report that probably best illustrates where we are is under the Section 8 report, and I'll be sharing those with you later.
Audit update wise, they were on site last week. They got just about everything that they need. I think the lingering questions are, in regards to the BMS reporting, just figuring out, what we're doing, what's changing with it. And everything else, came back clean. We're in a good place right now. There was significant discussion about the elevator project, but, they didn't have any concerns.
Did they categorize? It was a matter of how they categorized it, right? Rather than
Yes, Markham had already capitalized it, and we had to take it out of capitalization because it's not technically finished. So there was a whole conversation around that.
the other issue that,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
It's not my concern.
Right.
the other, they did a, initially they were scheduled to review 40 patent files. We added a few more, obviously. But we added a few more because they asked which files they want to see before they get here. I decided to throw a few more in, because it's more spontaneous, what's planned for review of some of the kind of files, not because there are any issues up front, but that being said, they did identify some issues which we will work on. I've already let Greg know that we'll be doing some quality assurance checks on the Section 8 files. Again, just a check and balance, trust the verification, due diligence, not because we anticipate or problems with the kind of processing. We just want to make sure that
There's a place, compromise.
And then I'll again refer you to the RJ update, which is in your packet. Something that Carl's done a great job on the last few years. And I do have people stop me and say, "Hey, what about such and such?" Because they read it in the tenant newspaper.
Oh, good. Yeah. Scare the tenants with this little ugly bug.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, bug of the month was bed bug. Was it bug of the month?
Right on the
Ticks last year, their last year. It makes me itch just looking at it.
You should put that. Occupancy rate.
So this, since our last meeting, we got two units, one at Sheldon, one at Sheldon, one at Hillary. This month is going to be a busy month, as you'll see there on the board, and in May, ready, we have several that are going to be coming available at Sheldon. At various points this month, so 4 or 5 leaves up That's fine, before the next meeting. Right now, everything else is looking pretty good. The only unit we have that is currently ready, that is not leased up, is one at, Bridge Hill, but that is a hospital unit. It is master lease, so we should, excuse me, that was mentioned. Master lease, so we are getting paid for it, they just said. They weren't put in yet. Other than that, we did do our biannual, purge or wait list, so basically what that on update. And I don't know if you noticed, the difference in numbers, quite a few, it's significant difference in the amount of applicants on the wait list. The last one, this one, so there's quite a few that got purged, they didn't respond to the update, any questions they were removed from the wait list, or, only, ways that they will get off the wait list. Applicants can get back on the wait list, just so people know they're not taking off infinitely, indefinitely rather. They can get back on it, they just would, once they get us their update, it would change their wait list date to, from when they originally applied to when we actually receive the update, so that's.
I'm going to follow over.
Yeah, the goals will work or not. Fine. That's pretty much it. Everything else looks pretty good. We do have inspections coming up at Hickory Street on the 26th. Evernorth will be on site, to do all 3 phases. I don't suspect any issues there. I mean, these guys have looked pretty good down there and they always have in good shape, so. I would go.
What was your charge in the city country? What do you guys charge?
It's $200, unless they have a reasonable accommodation.
So if I may, that's one of the things that we're looking at, in property management is moving away from a pet deposit that is refundable at the end of the tenancy to a pet fee. It is consistently, there's increased turnover costs when there's a pet in the unit. But it's been pointed out. We can't charge either deposit or fee, for people with a reasonable accommodation that have a pet. So that is not, we have not been formal to present to the board at this point, but that is something that we're researching and something that we're seeing increase. Indeed. Sure. No, that you look like a deer in the headlights, but I just wanted, while you're up here, I wanted to say that, the quality of our current wait list after the purging that Greg, referenced in his report is in large part due to the work that Cheryl has done on it. She's done an extraordinary job. And just as a footnote to that, our file room is never looked better. So, she is, I think, known behind her back as a file loader, but that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So I'm glad you came out. Thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. In some cases, this guy, honestly.
Yeah.
I've got people on the list that aren't really candidates. It makes processing of a lot easier.
Well, when you get to figure anything that I don't think I'm sifting through a bunch of people that aren't even looking for help.
So, I'll cover for pressure, like this that you got today. And we'll start with the turnover list. As you know, our goal is 20 days or less. Between the time that a tenant moves out of the unit and a new tenant moves in. So currently we are at 25, which I think is, I'm happy with, and I'll explain why. We're just on a couple days to make ready. In other words, that's the time that it takes for maintenance to get in there and we've got it ready to lease up. And then our lease up is 14.4 days for a total of 25. The reason I say that I'm pretty happy with the 25, although we're committed to getting it as close to 20 as possible, is that our turnovers, frankly, are more complicated. It's really a lot of Gretchen's efforts to ensure that we have tenants that are meeting the terms of their lease. But we also have contracted with a company called Spectrum for review of our pre-admission applications and certifications. It slows things down a little bit. Particularly over the last few months, they've been short-staffed. I understand that they're fully staffed now. But we feel like the check and balance is important because, of course, the long-term housing tax credit program, there is very little margin of error. So I believe that our lease-ups are very high quality, and that's why the 25-day doesn't concern me, frankly. I think we're much better than most housing authorities. Moving on to unit turnover again. I think Gretchen's actual property management report speaks for itself. Something that would like to emphasize on her report, that she's currently working on 3 evictions, most of which are for non-payment, although I think there may be 1 for cause in there. Maintenance completed 47 work orders during the month of June. There were 3 unit turnovers, and property management and resident services are collaborating on a series of summer picnics at each of our properties, including the Rutland area of Johnson. So it's an opportunity for us to connect with tenants, all staff working participate, connect with tenants, and also express our appreciation.
And having more success with the per versus the
If I may be blunt, I think that's one of the areas that perhaps the RFQ for legal services will have to address. There's always a reluctance on the part of attorneys, not just ours, to pursue for cause because they're very difficult to prove. I will tell you that we have 1 pending eviction at Sheldon that, in addition to non-payment, there's for cause eviction, and it's going to be very, very hard to argue in court because everything was reported on our recently installed video cameras. So, yeah, it's always a balancing act, particularly with and I would say particularly with non-payment, because it costs about $600 to pursue eviction. So anything, I think the attorney's philosophy is that anything under $600 is not worth paying. My position is don't wait until it's $600, just go. That's been a effective strategy. Gretchen did a really good job of talking on payment. Tenant accounts receivable are down. You're going to be getting a write-off request next month for unpaid tenant account receivable, and hopefully that one may be a little heavy, but you'll see that in the future, this is because of past. What are we like, 6 months or 3 months?
Typically 3 months. I have one that's 6 months.
Yeah.
Because of the type of eviction that it was, but yeah.
Sheldon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think primarily Sheldon, although on the street as well.
The large one is Joe Rogers.
Can't mention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought that we had before.
John Smith.
John Smith. Sorry.
Yeah. No, just because, because particularly when we have, that's right.
Okay.
So thank you. And we talked about the eviction. So, Heather's report. You'll see her written report, including EIB discrepancy report. We monitor on a monthly basis any discrepancies between what we submitted in the 5A to HUD and what they find on the systems in terms of Social security numbers, people who are deceased, but it hasn't hit the other system that they use, and then most importantly, unreported. We meet on a monthly basis and each individual discrepancy, and then there's a follow-up conducted by either Greg or Heather to determine the accuracy of what's being reported, the way of unreported income. Beyond that, there's a procedure directed primarily at recovering that the rent balance due to unreported income. And that could take the form of a repayment agreement if the tenant does not participate in that process, that they unreported income is gone.
Some people you look, say, they say zero here. They told you.
Yeah, it says recorded, what take?
I think you know, page
47.
47.
Because you got the CT.
Yeah, so income reported by SSA, so that's what the employer or the social security administration, whatever, reported to the system. And then the income reported on the 5058, or it's a 58, but they need the 5058 form. And the other number is what was reported on, so the difference is what was unreported by the tenant.
And this person said zero.
Where are we at?
CT.
Yeah, so they didn't report anything for income there, so they made $26,000.
Because they're out of job, is that long come at the time they report it? I'm just trying to get a.
A lot of times they like start a side or a job and then just don't tell us about it.
Yeah.
And then it gets caught up,
W-2, if it goes in SSA.
but it usually takes a
Yeah.
fiscal quarter to show up on the EIG report, so they can make quite a bit of money before it starts.
They're pretty visual. Just.
Yeah, it's, I mean,
They get Elon Musk and his team on.
that corner, sounds like a lot, but within the federal government scheme of things, they're actually relatively sort of kind of efficient. Yeah. And the EID resolution form in terms of the actions the housing authority has taken to recover fraud or to indicate that that tenant is in fact deceased, or whatever the discrepancy might be, the form gets filled out, and then it's assigned by the clients and occupancy compliance manager, as well as Section 8 program manager, because they share six tenants, and it's just again a check and balance at the end.
You have got a lot of money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's two reports that I just handed out to the commissioners. And this gives I think a better indication of where we stand with the Section 8 program. Not, again, because there's some lag time in reporting. The first one is to have cash flow tracking, which takes a look at all available resources, anticipated expenditures, and what the surplus deficit will be at the end of the year. Again, I think the 222,782 is a bit overstated. And as we continue to work with the shortfall prevention team, we'll get a better sense as to where we're going to fall at the end of the year. The second report is a half funding and projected half expense report. And this, I think, again, is a little overstated. The projected year-end cap reserve is showing a negative 151,2990 for the standard housing choice vouchers and $5,761.14 for the mainstream program. I've asked Heather last week to begin reporting to you on page 1 the number of vouchers returned but not reissued. That's what we're we're striving to, that's where we're striving to recover those 20 vouchers from the community. We're not going to take subsidy away from any family that currently has a voucher, but rather, well, there's two things that we're pursuing. One is not reissuing vouchers that have been returned, and the second is greatly enhanced compliance. Yeah, if people have unreported income, they're not in compliance with the terms of their release. We're going to look long and hard at those folks and make a determination as to whether or not those issues, those vouchers will be pulled. So I'm going to ask her to start reporting that to me. And I'm sorry that we can't give you more precise numbers from Section 8, but it is a function of the program and the way it funds it and the ups and downs and ups and downs. Suffice to say that we are in a shortfall.
That concludes the second. Citizen service.
There's a flyer in there with the dates of, can't make one, maybe you can make another. To see you there.
Lots of rules. No, certainly. Really, certainly the room.
I'll do it if we got the budget.
Yeah, so we are, so the staff is really, so we're gonna be together. That suggestion box check.
Then we're bringing the plates and napkins.
You can charge a cake.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, but Lindsay's the one who ordered it, so it's pretty easy for me to delegate that responsibility.
I think I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, I think Lindsay's making the case.
Yeah, right.
Order those out.
Just put them on, take them out of the container and put them on a plate, man.
Yeah,
There we go.
and it's really no accident, but I agree to.
That's what I- Napkin.
The real work is happening by balance of staff. I don't know if you I shared this with you in the past, but Greg's finesse at cooking is legendary, so we're expecting great things from him.
Grill master.
It'll be good. It'll be
None of these crappy fixed white meals on wheels hot dogs this year.
I promise it will be better than what you've been getting.
No, thank you.
I think the city police, right, Brown, that'd be kind of cool. Of course, you have the police come in first, and you have the fire truck come in after. Are you kidding me? There's kids around.
Yeah.
Fire. I do reach out to the fire, Pete there sending people to their.
I'm gonna truck. The kids would love to see
I
it.
couldn't love to see.
I don't think they do the bucket. Ever since I did the swan dive, watch every day. But no, that's something that we've not done in a few years. And again, it speaks to I think the effectiveness of the partnership between resident services and property management. And frankly, the sense is strong.
I don't know if the fire truck's coming or not. I would assume you'll bring one, but I haven't gotten that one. Hopefully, I'm gonna have to go bring one.
Yeah.
So our constantly forgiven panel is now running full staff, so calling in has returned, and we have a staff volunteers that are taking on that panel, so excited for that. Our mental health program is successful. She's still getting referrals, and we've been on trips. We had a trip with the Vins this month. Before, she's also has arranged some trips at the other sites as well as Ash Night. So that continues. She was out last week and is returning tomorrow. We started last week. All of our stash lights have something running. Flower box project was a success in June. All the flower boxes filled with condolences. Large events for myself.
Begonias, why are they called begonias? Because begonias are effectively hardy and
Yeah, they do the best.
they do the best one.
Yeah.
When the tenant, tenant's done a green pop shop.
Minimal effort.
I've seen that have not fared so well.
Yeah.
Sure. Variety of flowers, really nice, nice and big and full. But I think that the owners are safe. Take that. What else? I think that's it. There's nothing, I'm just trying to maintain, this panel while we are without a slash coordinator and, the panels are doing work. Armchair is, for those folks 60 and older. They get like a $5 for 10 weeks share.
And is it for local farmers?
That is, we're known for many, many years, but I think one of the other staff coordinators is using kind of farm, and I cannot remember the. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So yeah, that's basically it this month.
My thought of farm share would be have nerves down every day.
They definitely do that. Some the other day.
Yeah,
You got a pepper and you grow.
I know Chris is not here and I'm sorry here at these meetings, but has anyone heard what the status of the garden boxes program is?
Looks awesome down there.
Oh, it does?
I swung by the other day, and in fact, there was a couple of people out there, how I know they were sharing vegetables every day, and it looks fantastic. The gardens look really well. And they said they were doing it on, but they're all built in, so you can participate.
Normal business?
Old dude, we already addressed the elevator. We brought that up earlier. Want to talk about the August meeting with the board of commissioners, not consistently, but historically, we've tried to take either July or August off. And at this point in time, unless, and I'll, at this point, for the staff as well, there doesn't appear to be anything pressing coming up, but of course that could change in the you know, with one phone call. So I'm going to leave it up to the board. I would ask that if we decide to go with August, that we move that from the 11th to the 11th to the, I think it's 15th or 18th. Would be that? No, it's be the 18th. Following month.
It's Monday.
Monday's the 18th?
Monday's 18th.
Yeah, then we move it to the 18th because of vacations. What's your pleasure, folks?
Wanted to be there.
You have a meeting. You don't know it. That's why he was reappointed by the mayor.
You think?
Forum, it would be, especially for the open meeting laws. So why don't we leave it at this unless something comes up that is board action? We will not be doing this. If we do, it'll be on the 18th. Okay? Okay, so just know that September will be a little busier because you have more manifest review, but you know, that's really not a huge.
Never seen no town. It's fine, once she came in a little after the, did you have something you wanted to add? Something you'd like to say?
I just have never been able to make a meeting because I don't have a job or an appointment or anything today, so I came.
Nice.
I have some for maintenance. Yeah, it's the ramp out there, somebody fell last.
Yes, they're in the black folder. Black folders. Thank you for reminding me. Back to life.
Two trips. You trip.
So, spread the word, we'd love to have, we'd love to have more participants in the board.
Oh, I
meetings.
tried, but they're in bed.
And that's where the rest of us would like to be as well.
Yeah, they're too. Well, actually.
Oh, we don't have. That will bring-
I'm working here. I just enjoy it.
Amendment. That is under consideration.
It was a new question.
All those favors, say aye.
So, that you will all take some time to enjoy this summer because I know, I think it's a missing.
We had to do that with, 26th Street with the Crisis.
Oh, they come. And especially when when you get up, it's better. And which is. Top one is maybe a second, so then it's like, yes,
I think it's the skill.
Thank you.
Yeah, super important. There's cheap. I currently think I'll send a Chevy Classic. Keep it, you know?
Thank you.
If you have any issues,
I appreciate this. They're taking hold of the